Namaste yogis. This is Steven from YogaWorks. Welcome to your practice. What I would like to do today in this next half an hour or so is a brief after work winding down practice. You know it, you've been hard at work, you've been probably in a bit stuck in one position, most likely behind a desk and a couple of screens. And probably there's been an element of stress and anxiety or a need to perform certain tasks. So it can create a bit of tension in the body and in the mind. So that's actually what we're going to be addressing and working towards providing a little bit of space, a little bit of relief from the mental pressure, and just like a nice all-round practice which you can do on a regular basis whenever the need arises. I've got a prop here, so I would recommend to quickly grab something yourself. I've got a resistance band, but you can do the same with a strap or a belt, or even a long towel or a piece of clothing, doesn't really matter. But something that is a little bit long, we'll be using this to lift the foot up into a hamstring stretch. And we're gonna start this right away. So come to lie on your back with your prop, your strap or band or belt, whatever you got. Wrap it around the ball of the right foot and then lift the foot up into the strap. Now, what I like to do is just hold one end of the strap in each hand, and we want to straighten the right leg. And if you need to lower the angle to the floor to do that, then that's totally fine. You can just adjust where you hold the strap. If you've got a little bit more space, then obviously that foot will go a little bit higher. But don't worry about little details like this. Remember, our goal is not to have ultimately open hamstrings, but our goal is to unwind after work. So just keep that in mind wherever that leg is. That unwinding is really what we're after in our practice today. And then if you can, just allow the shoulders to rest down, the arms to be straight, the leg to be straight, and even the bottom leg. I'm not pushing really hard into it, but there's just a little bit of activation down into the floor, and almost like I'm standing on that left leg. So see if you can create that in your body. Just take a moment in this simple space. You've come to your mat, you're taking a little moment to unwind, to take care of your body and mind, so that you can work for many more days if you need to. Good, and then bring both ends of the strap into your right hand, and we're going to open the right leg to the right. And then just do that until it stops. You'll feel when it's appropriate to just not push any further. What I like to do here is just to prop my right elbow down onto the floor, and then you get a little kickstand with a bit more support, and you really stretch that right leg out into that strap or band, whatever you have. I'm still working a little bit to keep this left hip down and the left leg a little bit grounded, so that we're not just rolling onto our side, we're working on opening the inside of that right leg a little bit. Take a few breaths here. The breath is really nice to ground and to settle along with these grounding yoga poses. And then lift the leg back up. You can remove the strap just for a moment or place it off to the side. And then just keep the knee bent and come into half happy baby. So I'm holding the right foot, but if the right foot is not within your reach, then just hold your ankle or somewhere behind your knee, that's also fine. And then gently pull down. You can do that with one or with two hands. And the other leg can still straighten out, or if that's a little bit much, you can bend it and place the foot on the floor, which is gonna take away some of the tension. I'm actually gonna do that. It just feels better for me at this moment. Gently pulling down, just visualize that right knee getting closer to the right rib cage. And take a moment just to let the pose do its work, to not get so mentally involved in everything, because that's likely what you've been doing the whole day at work already. So that this practice can be a little refuge away from that. And then keep that right knee bent. Now we'll straighten the left leg and we'll take the right knee over to the left to simple spinal twist. You can reach the right arm to the right. Just make the upper back and the right shoulder nice and heavy, and take a few breaths here to unwind. Of course, we're winding our body up in this twist, but then the unwinding is really nice at the end when we release and the blood flow gets into the tissues that were a little bit squeezed. You'll feel that in a moment. And then slowly release, come back to center, and I'm just gonna turn around for the second side so you can see a little bit better. Grab the strap and put your left foot up into the strap. Just lift it up, straighten the right leg on the mat. Adjust the angle of the leg so that you can straighten it and rest it comfortably in the strap. And also you can relax the shoulders down with straight arms. You'll probably have to adjust a couple of times just to find the right setup. And once you find it, it should feel quite comfortable with a little challenge, a little bit of stretch in the back of the left leg, your hamstrings. You might feel the calf a little bit as well on the left leg. And just take a moment to settle and ground. Often we're very much in our head space when we need to work, especially on the computer. And now we return to a grounded space in the body. Not that we're going to switch off the mind, but we just want to give it a little break. You can't switch it off, actually. You can just allow it a bit of space to rest. You just feel the really calming effect just of lying your back and doing something slightly active, but without a huge amount of demand. And then transfer the strap, both ends, into your left hand. Start to open the left leg to the left until it stops. You'll know when that's the case. Try not to lift the right hip too much. Keep it a little bit grounded. And I'm also grounding down a bit through that right leg. It's going to help. And then I like to bend the left elbow to make a little kickstand on the floor. And just let that leg rest in that setup in the strap to get into the inner thigh a little bit more now that we've opened the leg to the side. You'll feel that. So we're addressing some areas that get quite restricted from hours of sitting at the computer. And the inner thighs, hamstrings are definitely some of those. Take another slower breath here. And then lift the leg back up. You can remove the strap. We won't need it anymore. And now it's time for half happy baby on the left leg. So just bend that left knee. Bring the left ankle above your left knee. And then with the hand or both hands, you can gently pull down on the foot. Or if that's too far away, then just grab the ankle or behind the knee. Same pose, different options. So you'll find out what works for you. Gently allow that knee to soften. And you keep that right leg straight, but my preference is actually just to bend it and take some of that pressure off from the front of the right hip. And just stay in this for another moment. Some really nice compression in the front of the left hip. And a bit of opening around the hip joints. Straighten the right leg again. Now bend the left knee, or it's probably still bent. You can take it over to the right and stretch the left arm to the left. Nice supine twist. Make the shoulders nice and heavy. Ground down through the upper back. And then just feel this rotational quality, and a couple of breaths, let it move through this shape. Good. Gently release, roll up, and come onto all fours. So simple hands and knees pose. Stack your shoulders over the wrists. Bring your hips above the knees. And then come into cat pose. So we're rounding the back. We're pushing the mat down with the hands and with the knees. And then really lift the chest and lift the belly. And hollow the front body as much as you can. You can tuck the chin a little bit down to the chest to also get the neck into flexion. And rather than moving to cat and cow, which we often do in a warm-up, there's nothing wrong with it. But today I just want to hold this pose for a little bit longer. Just to bring some space into the back body, see if you can breathe into the back of the diaphragm. So the bottom of the rib cage at the back. It often gets a bit sort of bogged down with long hours of sitting. And then release that cat pose. We'll do a couple of hip circles. So just lift your right knee a little bit off the mat. Reach it up and back, out to the side, towards the right elbow, so forward, and then back to the center. Let's do two more in this direction. One more, round and circle around. Now stop and change the direction of the circle. So go to right elbow first, open to the side, circle up and back, and that's one round. Surprisingly challenging, isn't it? It looks like a tiny little circle with the hips. It doesn't look like we're doing much until you're here doing it yourself. Good. Place that right knee down, lift the left knee a little bit off the mat. We'll start up and back. Open to the side, reach for the left elbow, and then continue. Try not to get the spine involved too much, so we're trying to get the spine quite stable so that it remains a hip circle and not a spinal exercise. After 3 rounds, we're changing direction, so start going forward towards the elbow, out to the side, up and back, back to starting point. Got 2 more. Just be aware of how your hip is moving, or perhaps there's some parts where it doesn't move so well and it might need a little bit more attention. Nice. Now place this left knee behind the right. Open the feet a little bit so the knees are close together, and then all I'm going to do is press the hips a little bit back. You can stay on fingertips, you can push the mat away, and I'm just lengthening the hips back towards the end of the mat. It doesn't matter, you might be a little bit higher here, you might be all the way down in between the feet with the hips, it doesn't matter. So just stretch back until you feel some nice opening in the outer hips. You probably feel both sides, with one side probably being a little bit stronger in sensations than the other. It's quite normal. And then come back forward. Let's swap the knees. So it's going to be left knee in front of right this time. Squeeze the knees together, open the feet a little bit, and then just press the hips back towards the end of the mat. Any amount until you feel, this is good, I can work with this. And I can take a few breaths. You might be sitting all the way down between the feet. You might be hovering way up above the mat. All of this is fine. So just find your own version of the pose. There's not like one version that works for everybody. That's why I need to give a couple of options so that everyone can get this the benefits of the pose. Good. Unwind it or undo it. Step your right foot to the front, a little bit outside your right hand. I actually like to have the toes slightly off the mat here. And then all I'm going to do is move a little bit back and move a little bit forward. So we're just getting into this right hamstring, especially as we move back. You can lift the toes as you move back, so you get into the calf as well. And we're just sort of rocking gently backwards and forwards, sending a signal to our body and mind that everything is fine, everything is safe. There's no emergencies happening. We don't need to be on high alert. One more. Good, release that. Reach your right hand back, lift your left foot a little bit off the mat. This is option one. Just stay here and hold for a moment. For some of you, if it's available, you can hold the outside of that back foot, the left foot, and kick it into that right hand a little bit. So we're getting to the quads. Either your foot is hovering, it's perfectly fine, or you're holding it in the hand. Both options are good. And allow a little bit of time for the front of the left hip and the thigh to lengthen. Good, gently release that back foot. Bring both hands inside the right foot, and all I'm going to do is lengthen, even look forward, and then just bend the elbows a bit. Just bend the elbows a bit. Lizard pose is called lizard pose. Sometimes we can be on the elbows. For some people that works quite easily. For other people this is not going to be available, and in that case don't worry, this pose is not about your elbows or your hands, it's about this right hip. So we're working on the external rotation of this hip, and at the same time it's a nice introspective grounded pose. You're really close to the ground. You're working to some hip mobility, and you're looking a little bit inwards, which is a nice thing after a busy day where you have to interact with all kinds of people around you, I'm sure. And then come back up and just bring the right knee back next to the left and step the left foot forward. We're skipping down dog and the chaturangas and all this, because sometimes it's the last thing you need after a busy day at work. If you're already a bit drained, it's just a huge success you came to your mat at all. So you don't have to do anything really extraordinary to get there. Couple of breaths to move the hips back. I'm straightening a little bit through the left leg or all the way if that's available. And then rebend. Pull back, lift the left toes, rebend. And just rocking backwards and forwards, not to get deeper, but just to rock our body into a bit more of a comfortable, relaxed space after our working day. Let the breath be as smooth and slow as possible. This is also going to help to bring the body into that more calmer state. And we're setting up our body to be this sort of oasis of calm. Whatever happens, whatever work we need to do, situation we're in, we can find a little piece of stillness. And then when the knee bends, hold it there. Keep right hand inside left foot. Reach the left hand back. You can lift that back foot. This is really great to strengthen that right hamstring. So it's definitely not inferior to holding the foot. Or if it's available for you to hold the foot, you can go ahead and kick the foot into the hand a little bit. If you want a deeper stretch, you can ground that right knee down and create the action of sliding it forward towards your right hand. It's not going to actually move, it's stuck on the mat, but to create that action is going to intensify the stretch, if that's necessary. Otherwise, just stay where you are. Good, then gently release. Bring both hands inside that left foot. And we're going to come into lizard pose. Just lengthen the spine a bit. I actually like to look forward just to get that length, and then bend the elbows a bit. You could just stay here. Any amount of bending the elbows is fine. We'll bring the chest a little bit closer down inside that left knee. And if you feel like, okay, maybe right elbow can go down, maybe the left elbow can go down. Sometimes one elbow goes down and the other one not quite. That's also fine. If that's the case, then just stay on one hand, one elbow, or both hands, it's fine. And then just drop in for a moment. Nice grounded pose. We're turning the senses inwards. So instead of the senses being open to the outside world, what's happening, what am I hearing, what am I seeing, what am I feeling, we're moving that awareness a little bit more internally in our yoga practice. And then slowly come back up. We just do a brief pigeon pose. So wiggle the left foot to the right side of the mat and bring that left knee down on the left side of the mat. You can stretch that right leg back behind you and you just come up onto your fingertips. Lift the chest a little bit. If you like the more active version, you can stay in it. Or if you feel, okay, it's been enough today, I've worked really hard, I need a bit more relaxation and calm, then just lower the elbows or lower your forehead down and then just feel that outer hip opening, but also a nice settling and grounding in this pose. See if you can let go a little bit of tension around the belly, around the hips, around the chest and the shoulders. And then come back up and swap sides. You can move through down dog if you want, or just bring the other leg forward however you like. So it's going to be right knee behind right hand to the right side of the mat. Left leg, I'm just walking a little bit back in line with the left hip. I like to start on fingertips just for a moment to get a bit of length and space in the front body, and then when you're ready, you can lower the elbows down. Or you can make a pillow with the hands and rest your forehead on it. And then just let the pose do its work. Try to remove yourself from the situation. You've already been involved in all kinds of work stuff. You've been helping customers and clients and bosses. So now it's time to take a step back. You came to yoga practice, you get into the pose, and then just watch. In a way, yoga is very much the process of self-inquiry. We are becoming more and more aware of what we're capable of, in which directions we are able to grow, where we're lacking or tuning out a little bit in our own life or practice. Good. And then slowly lift up and just swing your legs around to the front. I'm going to be facing you. No, actually, I'll be facing sideways. Bring your right ankle on the left knee. And to do that, I like to just lift the hips up a bit. Place right ankle on the left knee and then sit back down. So that's just a nice way to get a bit more space to enter. Now, the further your hips are from the feet, from the front foot, the little bit easier it is, and the more you lean back, the easier it's going to be. If you start to walk your hands closer and bring your hip closer to that left foot, it's going to be more sort of compact and a little bit more challenging as a stretch. So I invite you to choose the right level of intensity for how you feel today. Only you are able to know for sure. And then press that right ankle down on that left knee a little bit. And lightly lift the chest. You can still walk your hands a bit closer if you feel there's a bit more space now to work with. then that's fine. And then keep your ankle on the knee. I'm just going to turn to face you and lower the whole thing down to the left. So you can shift a little bit just to straighten out, but basically your right foot will be outside the left knee. Getting ready for spinal twist. Wrap your left elbow around the right knee. Pull it close to your chest, just like we've done a bit before. And then interlace your fingers and turn your chest to the right. Couple of breaths here. We're again in a twist. I love twists to sort of unwind and release some of that deep held tension that we often are unaware of around the spine, around the diaphragm, deep in our core. There's a lot of holding patterns, and I find twists are some of the best ways to get in there. If you want the last part of the pose, you can place the right hand behind you and transfer the left elbow outside your knee. So allow you to push a little bit more with that arm and maybe deepen the twist a bit, if that's what you need right now. Good. Unwind. You can twist to the opposite side. And then let's swap legs. So we're sitting both legs out in front. Lift the hips a bit. Place the left ankle on the right knee. And then sit back down. No need to rush. We've probably been in a terrible rush for most of the day. You can walk the hands further back to make it easier. You can sit further back from your foot to make it easier. Or if you're like, no, this doesn't do anything for me, I can't feel a thing, then you can intensify the pose by walking hands closer or sliding hips closer to your right foot, or a little bit of both. I like to do a little bit of both. So you just walk closer, walk closer, walk closer. The more you lift the chest, the more you'll also start to pull on those outer hip muscles that we are targeting here. Couple of breaths here. Bring that left shin and the chest nicely together and keep a nice length in the spine. So we're looking for some really good hip stretches and twists today, but without a high degree of demand. There's not like serious strength and focus that's required. These poses allow us to unwind a little bit. Good. And then the whole thing will move over to the right. If you're not sure, I'll show you from the front. The whole thing moves over to the right, and then you can just swing that leg a little bit more underneath you. Wrap the right elbow around left knee. Lengthen the spine. Before you twist, always lengthen the spine. Interlace your fingers and turn to the left. So this version really allows you to pull that knee close, which is nice outer hip length, as well as this twisting action. Work with the breath, draw the breath down into your waist, into your belly, into the lower back. Can you explore the inner body with your breath? Either stay here, maybe this feels really good, or transfer the left hand behind you, right elbow outside the left knee, and then use that to twist to the left. Same pose, slightly different setup. So it's just a different version, really. Sometimes a different version feels better, and sometimes not so much. You can always return to the other option if you prefer. Just watch that the head doesn't fall forward. Often when we sit and work, the head is already in a forward position. So just balance the head above the rest of the spine. And then slowly release. Come to a comfortable seat. Close your eyes. Rest your hands. Lengthen the spine without any extra tension. just watch for a moment. How do you feel? Half an hour of a bit of hip work, some twists, some nice grounding, close to the ground poses. Did it make any difference? Do you need to do more of this? Or perhaps less of this? Maybe it didn't work. Just take a moment of gratitude as well for yourself, for showing up, for coming to your mat despite having had a busy, potentially stressful day. And that's half an hour. That's all we have time for. If you want to sit a little bit longer, seated meditation, then by all means, just continue, switch on the video, continue your practice. And if this is all you had time for, thank you for practicing. I hope you feel good. Place your hands together at the heart. Touch your hands to your forehead, to the heart, and bow to yourself on the mat. Thanks for practicing. Namaste.